Good afternoon on what is a mild, grey and overcast day. It is Thursday the 6th of October and I've got a nice hot cup of tea. And I have the Dungeons & Dragons starter set to unbox. This is Dragons of Stormwreck Isle. Everything you need to start playing. The world's greatest role-playing game, Dungeons & Dragons, designed for 2 to 6 players. And it promises explore a magical world. The Dungeons & Dragons starter set, Dragons of Stormwreck Isle, is your gateway to action-packed adventures in the cooperative storytelling game Dungeons & Dragons, where heroes battle monsters, find treasures, and undertake epic quests. This box contains the essential rules of the game, plus everything you need to play heroic characters caught up in an ancient war among dragons, as the characters explore the secrets of Stormwreck Isle. The set includes a 48-page adventure booklet with everything you need to get started, 32-page rulebook for playing characters of level 1 to 3, 5 pre-generated characters each with a character sheet, 6 game dice. When you're ready for even more, of course, expand your adventures with the 5th edition Player's Handbook, Monster Manual and Dungeon Master's Guide. So that's what you get on the back. This is what you get on the back of the box. So there we go. So this, in effect, is the 4th starter set from Wizards of the Coast for Dungeons & Dragons for 5th edition. Did one back in 2014 with the release of Dungeons & Dragons. And back in 2014, it was pretty good, actually. It was a pretty good release. You got a great adventure in there, Minds of Pandelver. You also got the set of dice, some characters, the basic rules to create the 4 kind of classic races and classes combinations, and everything you need to play for sort of levels 1 to 3. And there's also a Stranger Things version, and there was a D&D Essentials kit as well, which acted as an extension to the starter set. Now, of course, one of the main things about starter sets is that they have come on in leaps and bounds since the release of the original starter set for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. They really have. If you go out now to your nearest friendly local gaming store, you will find things like the Call of Cthulhu starter set, and the RuneQuest role-playing in Glorantha starter set, and the Warhammer Fantasy role-playing game starter sets. All 3 of those are excellent in what they provide you with to play. You get a great deal of content. You get a good copy of the rules, and you get play out of them. So, for example, there are, in the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay starter set, you get a mini campaign of 5 scenarios. You have 4 scenarios in the Cthulhu starter set. You have 3 scenarios plus a solo scenario, in the starter set for RuneQuest as well. So they're action-packed and quite, quite full. This, not so much. A bit of a rattle in that box. So let's find out what's inside. Let's see whether it can improve over the original Dungeons & Dragons starter set for 5th edition. Because I actually really do love a starter set. I love a starter set. I love seeing what the publishers can do to really introduce a role-playing game to new players, and also introduce a setting to players old and new, or basically experienced and inexperienced. So open up the box, and here's this. So we've got a very nice dice set, standard polyhedrals. Yep, nice enough. Then below that, we have the Dragons of Stormwreck Isle, the scenario itself. Great cover, more good artwork on the back, and you've got a complete breakdown of what's in there, the contents. Now, first off, I'm not a fan of booklets like this. I'm not a fan of booklets that don't, essentially because they don't come with a cover. You know, there's no wraparound cover. There's no. It feels, you know, like you're buying a magazine, and you're not. Anyway, we get into a guide to running the adventure. What Forgotten Realms are there. Adventure background and the outline of the background over its 4 chapters, and the setting itself, Stormwreck Isle. And it takes you straight into chapter 1, Dragon's Rest, and we have a mini location complete with map. You know, basically, it's really set up for players who want to experience and encounter dragons, and play Dragonborn, for example. Here we've got a great illustration of an owlbear. Into the Seagrow Caves. Really do like the artwork in this, and it's really complete. You know, as you would expect for a book for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, nice clean layout. The Seagrow Caves, and all these locations are relatively small, nothing too daunting in terms of scope of the encounters, and great image of fungoid men, almost Groot-like figure there. And then into the cursed shipwreck, including here we've got a nice little map of the ship. So I always like different environments to have your adventures in, and a ship is always a good one. And it's quite small, but we're up to the Clifftop Observatory. Again, another small location. Before that's the end of the adventure. That's it. We have a page of magical items, including boots of elvenkind, spell scrolls, that sort of thing. Appendix B is the bestiary, and basic descriptions. Just sort of like of the stats and a presentation of the creatures before we get into the first, and of course that's dealing with dragons. So we have blue dragon wormling, bronze dragon wormlings, and more. Ghouls, harpies, kobolds. Of course, when you've got dragons, you've got to have kobolds. And other creatures. There we go. So that's Dragons of Stormwreck Isle, the booklet. Underneath that, welcome adventure, your journey to the fantasy world of Dungeons and Dragons begins here. Essentially exclusive content and a QR code to access online. It's got advertising, as you would expect. Beneath that, there is the starter set rulebook, and this is taking you through the process of rolling dice, being a player, being the dungeon master, the rhythm of play. I do like the inclusion of the rhythm of play in there, especially, you know, it's nice. It's like, you know, okay, this is what you do, but this is how it feels when you play. And then you get onto the guide to how to play the game, playing the game there. I'm talking about things like the abilities, the 20-sided die roll, proficiencies, ability checks, working together, how saving throws work, dealing with the environment. Then we get to combat. It's probably the most complex part of the rules, to be fair. So it's covering melee attacks, helping, ranged attacks, damage and healing. Not so heavily illustrated, quite a bit denser text to learn. And I'm not seeing any. Okay, my first issue is, well, there's no examples in here, which I kind of think we need to have in something it's meant to explain. And it's not just it's not just a case of tell, which is what this is doing. It should be show through example. Anyway, equipment. Weapons, and then you've got all the spells occur in the scenarios, and the spell descriptions. So yeah, and then appendix of conditions, nice little reference there on the back. Then we have the individual character sheets. So we've got a wizard high elf or high elf wizard, and some background and the features of second class and third class. So everything that, if you pick this character or any one of the characters, everything that the player will need is on the character sheet, front and back. Does mean there's a lot of dense text for the player to deal with, but it's there, and it's there for ready access without having to refer back to the rules booklet. Then it does the same on the next one below that. Turn it around. Got a halfling, and of course the halfling is a rogue. There we go. So we've got an illustration of a rogue on the back. So you've got, the thing is, in comparison to the two classes, so if you're playing the wizard, there we go. So there's, okay, and then on the back you've got all this information, and then for the halfling you've just got this blank note space, you know, that just highlights the complexity of the two characters against each other. Paladin, that's a human paladin. A nice illustration of the back. Mine again, a lot of content to go through, a lot of text on these character sheets. And then Wood Elf Fighter, not so much text, but you've got quite a lot of background there. And this is all the same for the characters. So this character is a young folk hero. That's background, and there's notes on there how to make the character the plot that belong to the player who actually plays it, i.e. make your character yours. Nice inclusion. And then cleric, hill dwarf cleric. Okay, so yeah, and then that's it. Apart from in a sort of like basically providing a bit of spacing, really. Okay, so what's missing? Obviously, this sheet has all the general background and sort of like social media links as well. That's a nice touch. What's missing? What's in this box? That's what's missing. Where should I start first? That's what's missing. I would suggest the other thing, examples of play in the rules. Yeah, and it looks, I mean, those are the two main things. It looks to be a much shorter adventure than has been provided in the past. But the one thing that it is doing, it is providing play at levels 1 to 3, which Wizards of the Coast hasn't really done in its main campaigns. Rather, it's done it through these sets. Anyway, this is the starter set, Dragons of Stormwreck Isle, which is set off the coast of, of the sort of like the sword basically the default setting of the Forgotten Realms for Dungeons and Dragons. So yeah, you can go and explore there, and then obviously leap across to the Forgotten Realms and explore the region through the other books and campaigns. So anyway, hope you've enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, please do click on the like button down below, and of course if you've got any comments or feedback, appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings in the Nook, where you'll see me out here usually with a parcel which contains a book or game which I would extract and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Or in this case simply unwrap, then please do click on the like button down below, subscribe button down below. In the meantime, thanks again for watching. Be back again soon with another unboxing in the Nook. Bye for now.